How about the Tony Romo situation?
We can talk about that all day. I'm here for that. I'm here for that. So, Tony Romo has played just 5 games in the last 2 seasons as he was demoted to backup behind Offensive Rookie of the Year, Dak Prescott, in 2016. We all know about that story. Looking ahead to the 2017 season, where Romo's cap hit is just under $25 million, the highest in the NFL, and it leaves Jerry Jones with a big decision this offseason. What shall he do?
It's no secret. I just think so much of him as a person, so much of him as a player. This is what it is. It's a juncture that we have to address. You know, I don't know how ultimately we will resolve this, and nobody should be alarmed because you don't have all the answers. There's some issues here that you just have to see how the cards are played. The main thing about it is we will work through it.
No secret, Jerry Jones and Tony Romo very close. We bring in our NFL insider, Louis Riddick. So when you are close with a player like that, obviously there's an emotional value you place on the relationship, and then there's what you try to do to better your football team.
Right.
How do you see Jerry Jones playing this?
Well, it's a little dangerous to try and get inside of his head and try to figure out what he'll do, but I think ultimately, David, business will rule the day as far as what is best for his football team. I think obviously he will try and take into account sending Tony to a football team where he can finish off his career in a successful way, meaning a place that, number one, has a good offensive line that will protect him first and foremost. So I think Jerry, above all else, because of his personal relationship, probably cares for and fears for Tony's health. So you don't want to send him somewhere where our offensive line is kind of in a state of flux, where you know if you're going to be signing a guy like Tony Romo, it's probably because you think that you need something as far as an upgrade in your passing game. So he's going to be put in harm's way a lot. You don't want to send him somewhere where he would get hurt like that. I think Jerry will be able to kind of like separate personal from business and understand that even though he would like to keep him there, he will send him on down the road and let him finish his career somewhere else. I think he'll try and do what's in the best interest of the player while protecting the team, obviously, first and foremost.
It seems like, though, the way you're saying that is that the priority is making sure Tony's happy with where he goes.
Sure.
Not the priority on helping your own football team.
No, I think it's kind of simultaneous. Let me put it that way. I think he knows what's best for the football team is to go ahead and make sure that everyone understands that this is Dak's football team going forward, and not having the specter of Tony looming in the background, which people will always kind of refer to as, well, you know what, if Dak kind of has a bad game or has a bad stretch, we could always put Tony in there. You don't need that kind of interference. You don't need that kind of drama right now. I think you see where the direction of this football team is. So I think there's no doubt that he'll try and move him somewhere. Okay. That's what I'm saying. First and foremost, he's not going to try and keep him. I don't see that happening in any way, shape, or form. From a personal standpoint, he'll send him somewhere where he's taken care of. He's not going to send him to some football team that right now is still trying to rebuild, specifically on the offensive line, specifically a team that doesn't have any kind of running game where Tony will just be exposed. That's from a personal standpoint. He will try and make sure it's the best possible match.
So you try to think about teams like that and who might be able to win in a year or two with Romo at the helm. Like, what teams come up to you?
It's tough because most teams that need a quarterback aren't really at that point, quite honestly. I mean, I think Chicago may be one of those teams that's closer than people think. I think the coaching staff there believes that this is a football team that's a little bit closer than people think they are.
Won 3 games last year.
True. But you know what? Look, we've seen teams turn it around quickly, and there's a lot of things that kind of happen behind the scenes that contribute to those kind of records that will lead you to believe that they could flip it pretty quickly if they make some of the right moves. Obviously, Denver would be one of those places where you naturally would think maybe that would be a perfect situation for him. I just don't necessarily believe that's going to happen based on some of the noise that's coming out of there. Wow, I mean, with Tony, I really do think, though, that Chicago is going to be one of those places that's going to be looked at very heavily. I think that they've made some investments on the offensive line, particularly at the guard and center positions, where maybe it's a situation where if they can shore up one of the tackle positions, in particular the left tackle position, that could be a situation that maybe suits him. I don't know. It's tough for a guy like him, and I think it's going to be tough for teams that are evaluating him because the teams that need him aren't that close.
Yeah.
And he's a kind of guy, then how do you value him from a dollar perspective, especially when you're taking that to ownership and saying, hey, look, here's a 36-year-old quarterback who's only played 5 games in the past 2 years, and he wants $13, $14, $15 million a year. That's a tough sell.
Yep.
It's going to be a tough situation, I think. Tougher than what people realize.
It certainly shrinks the pool of teams
That's right.
that you are discussing as far as a trade or anything else with at this point. Lou Riddick here with us today on Coast to Coast.